Very quiet Ben Gurion Airport, and our defense correspondent Daniel Tzemach, and we know at least one flight coming in. I think I even see it on the board, and this flight is the first one, correct, Daniel, in which those passengers are going to have to make some tough decisions.
Exactly right, Calev. There is actually more than one flight already. There are a couple flights that have already landed, but it wasn't actually the first commercial flight that had its passengers being the first ones as part of the pilot program. Now, I'm going to clarify that really quickly. We're talking about Israelis that have returned, first of all, on the first commercial flight from Frankfurt. Before that flight, though, there was one of those rescue flights of Israelis that were accompanied by new immigrants from Argentina. Now, that flight is not a commercial flight, but it did have 3 different Israelis who were representing the Jewish agency who brought dozens of Argentinian Jews to Israel to immigrate to Israel. Now, most of them will be put in coronavirus hotels, but 3 of those representatives were donned with those black bracelets, and we did have a chance to speak to one of them. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
They gave me this bracelet and this phone, which I'm supposed to turn on once I get home and my quarantine begins.
I'm very proud to be the first Israeli to receive that bracelet because I think that it's much better for me to be at home than be in a hotel.
It wasn't hard for you to make the decision?
No, there was no decision at all. That was my first choice.
Right, and Calev, there are definitely not many people coming in today, but this really was the first time that Israel started slightly opening its skies. There were many people, obviously, that did not get the bracelet. Most of them didn't. Only 100 passengers were exiting the airport today with those bracelets. The others, just like those that were donning the bracelets, had to go through the typical procedure, which is, of course, a very strict protocol. They had to get their coronavirus tests, the COVID-19 tests that were administered here in the facility. They were administered in a hall just behind us, and then those that were actually destined to go to the coronavirus hotel exited a different exit. We did not see them exiting here. We only saw them from that balcony, and those that got the test, then got the bracelets, they were allowed, however, to exit here. Most of them did not want to speak to the media, which can be understandable. Of course, many of them coming after long flights. Some of those that exited this international hall, though, Calev, were not wearing the bracelets. That was a basketball team, the CSKA Moscow basketball team, which will be playing against Maccabi Tel Aviv basketball team tomorrow night, and they were also administered, of course, the COVID-19 tests. Only those that were able to actually test negative, were able to exit the airport, exit through this arrival hall, where they will be brought to a closed facility, and then they'll play their basketball game, and then they'll head back to Russia. But that is, of course, one of those very controversial exceptions, it has to be said, to those that are allowed to enter Israel. Many Israeli citizens still not allowed to regain entry, but there is some optimism now, Calev, that they will start to reopen the skies more and more, even leading up to that March 23rd election date, so that Israelis can indeed come back to vote in the upcoming election.
Right,
Calev?
and that is some encouraging news. You have to wonder, of course, Daniel, why some of these steps weren't taken way earlier in this coronavirus pandemic there at Ben Gurion Airport. I guess better late than never, maybe, but we'll have to see how the system works in the coming days. Thank you, Daniel Tzemach.